If you were a SEMO student in the early 1900s and you needed to study, you'd head down the East Hallway in Academic Hall and be met by a stern elderly lady with a southern tone who ran her library with the discipline of a drill sergeant. Let's take a journey through time and explore the history of Cape Girardeau and surrounding areas. We'll bring to life a collection of historic photos showcasing the contrast of then and now. I'm Morgan, and this is Before and After. And today we're going to talk about Kent Library. Out of all the buildings on campus, it's probably the place where you spent the most time as a student. It would be a place to escape the noise of the university life and messy roommates, and you try to cram every bit of a study guide into your short-term memory. During the Civil War, the Union Army created Forts A, B, C, and D in Cape Girardeau. Fort B stood on the same hill as today's topic, Kent Library. Let's learn about the person the building was named after. This first photo is Sadie Kent standing in front of the library in 1939. Sadie Kent came to SEMO in 1905 as a professor, known then as Normal School. She then became an assistant and eventually the head librarian in 1910. At the time, the library was located on the east end of the main floor of Academic Hall. In this photo, taken in 1940, the only recognizable features are the two emblems on the wall, which are located to the left. This next photo is perhaps my favorite vintage shot of the building. This is taken during an evening when it rained. As you can see by first glance, it looks nothing like it does today. And the building you see is still there, it's just completely covered up. During the 1966 renovation, they basically built a shell around it. For the Cubs fans out there, this photo taken in the 60s may give you a Wrigley Field vibe with the ivy growing on the building. Another one that took some imagination was this one. I had to basically imagine this building inside the modern shell, as I referred to it. Here's a great photo taken by Ken Steinhoff. This will give you an idea of how much they really expanded the library. It's about 3 times the size of what it used to be, and I totally lucked out with what appeared to be an incredibly curious hawk checking out my camera. Here's a very simple shot of the library. Really not a huge difference here. In the 1930s, FDR's New Deal plan allowed for the construction of a new indoor swimming pool in the basement of Academic Hall and a new library on campus. The building would be completed in 1939, and it was said that it took 30 people 4 days to move 70,000 volumes and 50,000 pamphlets to the new library. Sadie Kent and another familiar name, Dr. Grau, carried the very first book to the library, the Bible. On the exterior, you'll notice authors' names on the building. They were chosen in 1939 by English professor Harold Grau and W. W. Parker, the president of the university. The name Shakespeare caused many complaints due to the misspelling of the name. When the building was enlarged in the 60s, the name was respelled on the new facade. In 1966, the library was expanded, almost tripling its size and leaving the original building almost completely covered, and actually made for a very challenging attempt to recreate these photos because you can barely see what was the original building. The building was originally unnamed. The university wanted to name the building after Sadie Kent, but because it was federally funded by the PWA, who didn't allow their buildings to be named after living people, they had to wait till 1943 when the PWA became inactive, and it was officially named Kent Library. From the Civil War Forts and Academic Hall Library to the remodeled Kent Library, this has been Before and After.